Hi, hello. Maybe you can unmute, so and maybe inform others that we'll be starting in 1 minute. This class will be a very lengthy one, so I just want to start at exactly 8. I want to start at exactly 8 because we really have a lot to cover. So maybe you can remind others to join. Then I'll start exactly at 8. Sorry. Okay, so as I said, I'm starting at exactly 8. So I'm going to share my screen. So maybe you can confirm if you can hear me. So others will just join later. We really have a lot to cover. So you can just confirm if you can hear me so I can proceed and start sharing the screen. Yeah, can you guys hear me? Any confirmation?
Yeah,
Yeah?
we can hear you.
Okay. So let me just proceed and share the screen. My screen, I believe, is now visible. So today we're going to do, I'll need someone to help me admit these people because I'll not be shifting between screens to admit them to. So I don't know. Gideon can help me do that. Okay. I guess I'll be moving like that. So what we are going to do in today's class is very simple. We are deployed a site. It was kind of a portfolio, yeah. And this portfolio, it was having different pages. It was having different pages. And maybe I should just for those who are not in the last class, those who are not in the last class, um, let me share it out. So this is how the site was looking. This is the site that everyone deployed. So we have a home page, we have the projects page, we have the CV page and an IME page, right? So these are 4 pages. So this site has 4 pages. So we'll be converting this site to be served by Django. And what is Django? Django is a Python framework that is used for web development. Yeah, we do have various Python frameworks for web, but the ones that are famous are we have the Flask and we have Django. So Flask is majorly used for the lightweight systems. Yeah. So the lightweight system, yeah. So just light systems, we may use Flask. Yeah. It can be even just one file. Yeah. Just write a one script, Flask file, just one, and to be able to run a site. Now, for Django, it's used for highly scalable and sophisticated systems. So if you are having an organization or maybe a business that is highly growing and maybe new things coming in every day, so I'll recommend maybe use Django. So it has a lot of importance. Security features and stage easily integratable with other systems. There's the larger support. Like if you have many teams or many people using a system, that one maybe adds the support that we have for that particular language. So maybe if you are stuck somewhere, you can easily be assisted. So that's about Django. So what we'll be doing today is to convert this entire site to be served by Django. So that's what we're going to do in today's class. I think I had changed the settings. I really don't know why it's still everyone should be allowed to join. I don't know why it's still asking for my. Can someone help me with this or hi email so that maybe you can help me admit those who are joining? An email, please. Okay, so let me just proceed. So I'll just be admitting them after some time. So maybe the accumulated to a given number that I admit them, so rather than moving, switching between screens. So this is the site. So at the end of this class, everyone that will be attending this meeting will be having a portfolio. Yeah, a portfolio rather. That will be having your name. So maybe saying, "Oh, I am so and so," and a story about yourself and a button for I am me, and some maybe the three projects that maybe you did that had a higher impact. You can showcase them over there, and you can add your skills over the website. Then you'll be having a footer and a header and other pages. So you'll be having a page for projects, yeah, listing all the projects that maybe you've done before. There will be your CV. So your CV will just be having your experience, education, and the contacts, hobbies, skills. So all these things will be storing them in a database. So today we are going to have a system that is going to have a database, and in this database we are going to be adding that to this system through an admin panel. Yeah, and you'll be able to monitor whatever is happening through that admin panel. So by the end of this class, everyone is going to have a fully operational portfolio. And in our next class, we'll be deploying it using the other app services. So meaning by the end of the next session that you'll be having, all your apps will be live. Yeah, such that if someone asks for your portfolio, just say a link, just send a link to them, and they will be able to view and see everything that is happening. Instead of every time you go, whenever there's a new experience you've gained, you are going to update your CV, you are going to update your resume. Then on the last session, we'll be restructuring this we are having the third session. So if we visit, if we just search for maybe MLSA hands-on experience, and the first so on experience MLSA. Now, really, it's really disappointing. Okay. Oh, you don't know I am not getting that good. Okay, whatever. So if you just search for VSTech COK slash hands-on experience MLSA, you'll get the program, all the links to the past events, and the documents that if you want to maybe learn later, you want to learn Django later, you can download this or just view this document online, and you'll be able to follow. You can follow along or maybe learn more. So maybe things that are not covered through this session can cover them in that particular in that book. Still, I need someone to help me admit these people. So this is a book. This is a very nice book, by the way. Just you are learning by doing a practical project. Okay. So if you are in the MLSA page, you'll be able to get the last thing that we'll be doing will be to craft an impactful resume. So you'll also be restructuring the website that we'll be doing today to follow this kind of format, the impactful resume crafting or in a way of or a format. So for today, we are just going to convert the site. So let me get started now. Let me admit the last person, then okay, still admitted. So let me confirm. My voice is audible, right? Any response?
Yes, your voice is audible.
So we are going to start. So this is the site that we had deployed earlier that everyone did as a personal or individual assignment. It is having these four pages. So I'm going to create another branch. So in the day one, we learned about Git, GitHub, working with Git on VS Code and all that. So I'm going to create a new branch and I'm going to call this branch, I really don't know what to call it. Maybe I'll give it a name production. And in this new branch, we're going to do the fully operational app with all the processing done with Django. So I'll close this terminal, just close it, then I open a new one. So when working with Django, you have to have Python installed. And easier way to tell if you have Python installed or not, just run Python. And if you see this shall appear, then you have it installed. Or maybe other people can try Python hyphen version or Python hyphen V. And if you have it return that version, then you are good to go. So one requirement, you must have Python installed in your machine. Then the next thing that I recommend you guys doing is to have a virtual environment. So we're going to create a virtual environment. In this virtual environment is where we're going to install all the dependencies, all the requirements for our application. Yeah, so all the requirements for our application will be installed in that one particular environment. So to create an environment, you'll just run env, then the name of the environment. This one will work for both the Windows and the Linux. But if you was maybe for some reason that does not work in Windows, you can try Python, fnm, vn, then the name of the environment. So I'll just go for the first one, virtual env. I'll do a documentation on how to install Django and all that so that maybe you can follow later while creating your own. So virtual env, then I give it the name of the environment, then I enter. So this one will create for me an environment, and you can see a folder is created on this side. So you can see this folder called env. So this is an environment that has been created for us. Yeah. So once you have an environment, what we're going to do is to activate that environment such that whenever we are installing anything, it be installed in that particular environment and it does not interfere with the systems. Yeah. So anything that we'll be doing will be isolated within that particular environment. So to activate it, just in Windows, just do env, and it's like you are just going to open this file named called activate. So we're just going to execute this activate file. So this one for if you are using the command prompt or and is the other one, yeah, when you're using the shell. So just write env then script then activate and your environment will be activated. So how do you know if your environment is activated or not? You'll see the name of the environment and within a bracket or parenthesis, yeah. So this one is an indicator that your environment is active, okay? And how do you deactivate your environment once you are done? Just write deactivate and your environment will be deactivated. So we are going to activate our environment. And in this environment, we are going to install some packages that we are going to use through this class. So the first thing we are going to need for this app is Django. So we're going to install Django. Okay. So to install Django, type pip install Django. So this one will install Django in our environment, and we'll start using Django once it is installed. But as it is installing, let me admit these people who are joining. So Django is being installed. The Django installed, we are going to start using this Django that we have installed. So we are going to use Django to create an app. Okay? We're going to use Django to create an app. Project then app. Let me respond to someone. For that, so we're going on. So we have installed Django. So we're going to create a project. To create a project in Django, we're going to use the Django admin. Just type Django admin, start project, and provide the name of the project. So this will be calling this our project portfolio. Portfolio. I think something. Let me check portfolio. I think something like that. And we don't want it to create an outer folder. So we are going to tell it create this particular project in this our current folder that we are working in, and hit enter, and you'll see this project is created. So there are files inside this project. So we have the settings.py, urls.py, wsgi, asgi, then we have the manage.py. Okay. So I'll be explaining what all those things are going to do. In the settings.py is where you do all the configuration for your project. So all the configuration will be done here. The allowed host, debug state, you can turn it on and off. We'll be having the installed app, we'll be adding them there. We have the middlewares, the path to the templates, the databases configuration. So by default, Django comes with an SQLite database. So we are not going to configure maybe an external database or something like that. So we'll just be using the SQLite by that is brought for us by default in Django. Then we also have the time zone. You can change this time zone if you want to, depending on where you are. So for example, me, I can change mine to Africa, like, not Lagos. Okay. So you can check your time zone, just to go to maybe Google or something like that, then you get your time zone. So I'll set mine to that. So we can also do configuration for the static URLs through static routes and the media configuration. So I'll be explaining how we'll be doing that in the next step. The URLs is where you configure the path or the route that maybe when someone that a request will be coming through. Yeah. So it's at this point that we'll be determining that a request through this particular path will be handled by a given function. So we'll see how that one will be working. The manage.py, you are going to use this tool to do other couples of things. This is a tool that is brought to you by Django that enables you to perform other operations like collecting static. So actually, if you want to know what you can do with the Python manage.py, just type that Python manage.py, and you will see a list of commands that you can run with it. So you can do check, you can do flash, and there are a lot of commands that you can run using that particular tool. So we have created the project called portfolio. So we need an app. A project, maybe let me say in a school setup. you can be having you can be doing a project for the entire school, and this project maybe will be it targets it. There will be a lot of maybe subsystems that you'll be having for this project. So a school can have a subsystem for that will be handling students, another one for handling the lecturers, another one for handling a different person altogether. So these apps, so you in every Django project, there's one project. This project can have as many apps as possible. So you can have maybe an app for doing for a specific task, another app for a specific task. And even after deploying, and maybe you realize that maybe an organization updates and now there's a new feature that is to be added, then you don't have a stress in Django. So you just create another app to handle that new feature or the new thing that has come up. Okay, then you just integrate that up to the project and just working fine. So we're going to create one app. This is just a portfolio. So our portfolio it's not complex, does not require many apps, does not require us to work with any apps. And an app like this one that we are doing, let me quickly open it. So an app like this one. So you see this one is having a really this are all these are apps. So there's an app API, there's a business, blah 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 blah. So in a situation like this, you may find yourself working with a system that is having maybe multiple apps. Okay, but in this our case, it is just a simple portfolio or maybe a kind of a portfolio, a personal website. So this one does not require us to have maybe many apps. We just need one app. So we'll just have to figure out a name that we're going to give the app. So me, I'll give my app the name maybe core, something like that. So you can give your app a different name. So I'll just start my app. To create an app, you just run Python manage.py. So we're going to use this tool that is that we have was created when our project was being created. So Python manage.py start up. I remember for project it is Django admin start project. Now after the project is created, now we use the tool that is generated for us to start an app. Okay, and we give this app a name. So I'll call mine code. Okay, and an app is created. So we see this one created for us. So the app is having admin.py, there's the models.py, test.py, and views.py. So in the views.py is where you will be having all your functions that will be handling the request from the user. So all the request all the things, all the processing, you're going to write them in the views.py. Test.py are mainly used for testing applications. So when you will be writing script test your application, you'll be doing that in the test.py. Models.py will be handling the model of maybe the model of the application, like the data structure, or is where we'll be modeling the database in the models.py. Apps.py will just leave it as it is. We'll be importing this app into our project through that particular apps. Then the admin.py will be used to control whatever will be disappearing, will be appearing, or maybe whatever will be displayed or not displayed in the admin panel. If I'm breaking, you can just tell me I'm breaking so that maybe I know that we are still together. Or maybe if you can't hear me for one reason or another, you can let me know because I really can't know if I'm with you guys or maybe disconnected. So you can someone can text me or maybe someone can say if I'm breaking up. So we are going to proceed. We have created our app and we are having the project. So this core is an app and this one is a project. You can see there's a difference in the structure of this app and a project only have the settings, configuration, the URLs, the SGI and WSGI. The app is having these apps, admin, models, test, and views. Okay. Now we are going to test if our app is running. Okay. To do that, so we are now going to start our server. Now this time around, we are now running, our application will be running on a server that will be different from this one that was provided by default. Now we're going to do Python manage.py, then run server. By default, it will be running on port 8000. So if you've done networking, maybe you understand what we mean by port, IP address, and all that. So it will be running on a local host at a port 8000. So we are having this one is running at port 5555 and our new app is now running at port 8000. So let's find out what we have at port 8000, okay? Port 8000 there. So let me enlarge so maybe you can see. So this is what we have. So this is an indicator that your app is successfully started and is successfully running. So you'll see this logo, Django logo, and all this maybe, and it will be telling you that we are seeing this page because the debug is true. And it's usually advised when you are in production mode, when your app is now live, you should not leave the debug mode to be true. If you want to see documentation on Django documentation, you can pull along this document. Then you'll be having all the documentation how to work with Django and all that. Yeah. So our app is working, but it's not the same as this one, right? It's not using this CSS that is here. It's using the one that is maybe that was loaded with Django when it was installing, right? Now, you want to proceed to the next step. If I'm too fast, maybe you can tell me to slow down. Are we okay up to that point? Are you okay?
Now slow down a little bit.
Okay. So we are having Django installed and it is now running. Now we want our request to be handled by Django, such that maybe if someone types something like maybe that one slash Jeff, then there's a view that will be handling the request through that particular route. So maybe slash Jeff, there's another view that is handling that request at that particular route. So maybe slash something else, there will be a different view to handle that. So with Django, you can customize the URLs the way you want them to look. Actually realize that here you are having this, they will see the .html, index.html, blah, blah.html for the static websites. But in Django, you'll never see something like that. You customize the routes. Actually, this one will also make it difficult for the hackers to try to guess or maybe to try to understand your structure or maybe um, how you are modeling or maybe coming or providing routes to your apps. Yeah, okay, I'll explain that when we get there. So let me proceed to the next phase. So the server is running and you can see, yeah, everything is okay, except that we were told that this route Jeff was not found. So we have that status 4444. This was Jeff, this one, another 44. So when the status, I will not focus on them. This one for now. I'll be doing another video for that one. So our app is running. What we are going to do next is to link it to serve these files. So we are having 4 files, one for CV, another one for I, another one for index, another one for projects. So I said all the functions are defined in the views. The functions that will be handling the request, we define them in the views. So we are going to define 4 functions. One will be handling the request of the index page, another one the request at the CV page, another one the request at IME page, and another one in the project page. So let's define them. So um, I know maybe this one might be challenging for if you've got learn Python. I think I'll be having another class in the future whereby I'll be taking you maybe step by step. Yeah, so define a function in Python, just use that to define a function. So I'll be having the copilot suggesting for me what that code, that's not bad. So we'll be having, but I like using the name index. So I'll just use that. So we're having a function called index. This index is going to take in a request and it's going to render a page which will be index.html. It's going to return index.html. So that's the first function. The second function, we're going to have a function that will be handling the request that will be serving this cv.html. So just define another function and call it maybe cv. And this function will also between taking in a request and be returning render the CV. It will be rendering the cv.html. We'll be having the fourth function. It will be don't have contact. Um, we have hire me, so we can define hire me. Yeah, hire me. Then that one will be handling that file IAM.html. Then the final function that we'll be having is the one for projects. So we'll define projects, and it will be taking in a request, and it will be rendering projects grade cards. So I'll rename this one. That name is too long, such that I only use the name projects. So we have defined the functions. Okay, we've defined our functions. So we are having this index page, CV, IME, and all that. We were in the core, whereby we were having the settings.py, we have to configure where we have to tell Django where are you going, where are the HTML located. So you do that in the templates configuration. So in the templates, you'll see the backend, then you'll see the dates or the DRS. Then you have what these are the options. So in this bracket is where you specify the path whereby Django will find this HTML file. Okay. And to keep our code organized, so I'll create another folder whereby I'll place all the HTML files in them. So I'll call this folder templates. And in these templates, I'm going to move all this HTML in them. Yeah, so all the HTML file are in one folder. We are having the database that was created, that the database that is loaded with the Django, and you create that project. We are having this our tool. So we want to tell Django that all the HTMLs are in this templates folder. So just come here in the dates, that particular place, or maybe you can define it maybe elsewhere. You can say maybe templates directory. Then you can do that, or maybe you can import OS, and then here we use the os.path.join, os.path.join. So it will be joining the base directory, so and the templates folder. So you take this path, the templates directory, and pass it in here. So in this way, Django now knows where to find all the HTML files. Now we are one step now. We'll be moving one step by one step. So in the core, since this project is maybe small, something like that, so I'll just be routing direct here in the urls.py. But if you are having multiple apps, it is advisable you can create a urls.py in each and every app. So for example, just come and add urls.py. Oh, that's not .py. Just create a urls.py, and then from the after I've created that, you can just take this, but you don't need the admin. So you don't need this. All what we need is the views. So import these views that is in this particular app. So just do from this current folder or the current path, import all the views, and we'll be doing away with this admin. So we'll be creating our own character path. So the first one will be the index. The second one will be the CV, then hire me, and then projects. So yes, where we are now having at this particular route, this function is invoked. So if you right click that, it will open for you that function. So this is the function that will be invoked, that will be taking a request from the user and returning an index.html. Okay, when you are in the second one, if someone do maybe localhost 8000/CV, then another function that will be handling that request will be invoked, which is this CV function. That CV will be handling all the requests for that particular um, route. We are having another one for IME and another one for projects. So we've defined all the parts that will be used. This is like you're just calling the function. So if you've done maybe functions, you know how to call a function, something like that. So this is another way of calling them. So it's another way of invoking them. So just include this URLs. to the main project. It's like taking all the URLs in the core and including it in the main projects. So to do that, we are going to import include from Django URLs. And once we've done that, then we just come and add, you just come and include core.urls. So in the core, then you have the URLs files. So all the paths in the URLs file, urls.py, will be included in the project URLs. So let's find out what is happening. Okay, just 1 second. Let me add some data. Okay, now let's proceed. We've added all the URLs to the main project. If we run our project, to run a project, we said we use Python maria.py, then just tell it to run server. Then that one will start a server. Server can be a software or can be maybe an hardware. But in this case, our server, this is a software that will be serving all the requests that will be channeled to it through various routes. Actually, this server can take more parameters. You can specify the port at which you want it to handle the request from. So default, we said it is running at port 8000, but you can specify another port. So maybe you can say, I want it to run at port 7000, or I want it to run at a different port. So if you do that, you'll realize that it's now the service running, yes, but now at a different port, not the 8000 that was working before. And if someone try to access this port 8000, it will not be able to access anything. Yeah, you can actually specify the port, and you can also specify the route or where you want it to be executed. For example, I can decide to share it. So maybe you've done a project and you want to share it with the people within the same network, for example. Yeah. Just check which network do you have around you. And to do that in Windows, we use the IP config. So IP config, and we'll be having a network. There's this one, 192.168.221. So you can also run a server at that particular port such that any person within that particular network can access your site. Okay. So I'll kill that server, then I'll start it. So to run it in a given or a specific IP address, then you provide that IP address as an argument, then specify the port through which it will be running on that particular IP address. And now the app is running on a separate, in a different IP address and a different port number. So if you click that, just open, then now the app is running in a different IP address.
Want to say that I'm not
Yeah.
able to see your screen. I'm
This
not
screen,
able to see your screen. Yeah.
like it is small or not able to see it, like it's not sharing or
Okay. Got it. I
it's
think
okay
you are
now.
sharing some. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So okay, welcome. So we were talking of the various ways of running the server. So you can specify the port to which the server will be running, but you can provide an IP address through which the app will be running. So if you specify an IP address, then you have to add that IP address to the allowed host. So to add it to the allowed host, just to go to the configuration. Then in the allowed host, we have this one, and you can add that particular IP address over there. And now that app will be allowed to handle requests from that particular, through that particular IP address and the port number. Okay. So let's say we're in the same network and it is running at this IP address and this port. Anyone in that particular network will be able to access my site. So that's a way in which you can maybe locally host your site and maybe enable people to access it, or maybe you are presenting your site somewhere, then you can just run it on maybe a shared network, or maybe an internal network, such that maybe everyone within that particular place, maybe an organization, can access it and maybe give feedback on the site. So I'll kill the server and now run it again on the default port and the default IP address, which is the localhost 8000. So we'll take it back to localhost 8000. So we'll also want us to allow that as well. So I'll just come and allow 127.0.0.0.1. Yeah, so if you look at our sites, it is working, but there's something that is missing. The CSS and the JavaScript are not loading. So our CSS and our JavaScript it's not working. So that's what we're going to fix next. We are having this assets folder, and the assets folder contains the Bootstrap, the CSS, fonts, images, and JavaScript. So you can see the Bootstrap as the Bootstrap file, CSS, the CSS, fonts, the fonts, and images the same. So we are going to do something called collecting static. Yes, I can see hand is raised. Hamad or Hamad, right? There's a hand that is raised. Any issue?
No.
Then maybe you can lower your hand. Okay, so we proceed.
Okay. I just forget about that.
So we are going to set something called the static routes or the static directory. So when you are setting up that one, you are telling Django where to find the static files. And the static files include the CSS, the JavaScript, and the images, right? So to do that, just do the static. You can use the static files directory, or you can use the static route. Static route, yeah. Then you specify a path to that particular static route. You can do the same for media. So you can have media URL whereby the media files will be stored, and you can have the media routes. So once you've done that, we usually do something called collecting static. Collecting static will collect all the files or the CSS JavaScript that are used by the Django admin panel. And so how the Django admin panel look like. So let me run Python manage.py collect static. Let me clear all those. Then we have collect static. And you see a static folder is created, and within it we have the CSS, we have the admin folder, and within the admin folder we have CSS, fonts, images, and JavaScript. So all the files that are needed for styling and maybe executing some operations that require JavaScript in the admin panel are created for us when we collect the static. So we'll move this assets folder into the static. Remove that assets to the static folder, and then we'll enable Django to access this static files, and then the site will now start loading correctly. You know, it's taking long. Meanwhile, we can do other things. So we are going to create a super user that we'll be using to log into the Django admin panel, so that maybe I can illustrate so that you see how an admin panel look like. But before we do that, we're going to run a command to migrate. To migrate is to apply changes to a database. So there are migrations that were made, but to make these changes or to apply these changes in the database directly, now we use this command, python manage.py migrate. So So this one will create the tables, the required tables and all those things in our actual database. And once they are created, we can now then create a user, because you cannot create a user if the table for user is not existing, right? So the table has to exist. Then we create a user now. After creating a super user, then you can now log in with that super user account. So let's go. Python manager.py migrate. Yeah, and it will do all the necessary migration. Then after that is done, we can now create super user. So when you're creating a super user, you will be asked for the username. So the username, maybe I can give it a username admin. Email address, I can skip that and provide the password to be 1234 and 1234. Yeah. So we'll just bypass those warnings. So we have created our super user. So we created a super user with the password 1234 and the username as the admin. We run our server again. Okay, let's run our server again. Then in the main project, that was the portfolio, we realized that we were having two routes. The first one was /admin and the second one was blank. So the blank one was for the handling the root directly. Like if you don't provide any argument, that's like you are at the root of that particular project. Then who should handle that request at the root? So that is handled, it will be transferred to this app, the code.urls. It will go to code.urls. And in the code.urls, we have another blank. And in this blank now, we are going to have the index. So this index is the one that is serving the request at the root directory. Another root that we are having in the project is the admin. So let's find out what we are having here at admin. So if I go to 8.8,000 and I do /admin, then I'm taken to this admin panel. Okay, then I enter the account that we had created through the terminal admin, and the password was 1234. And now we have logged in. So this admin panel is created for you by Django. It's just created for you by Django. And the one that we had collected is the styling or the required CSS and JavaScript to run it. When you do it locally, even if you don't collect static, everything will seem to be okay. But once you deploy that site, you'll see a very big mess on the administration file. It will just be black and white and it will be really messed up. So if you collect the style and upload it whenever you are going to deploy that particular site and deploy it online with the styling, then everything will be okay. But if you don't collect the style, then you deploy your site when the static files are not there. Trust me, your site will be really messed up. The administration will be really messed up. So we are having that. You can create users. So we are currently only having one user. You can add another user. You can change their passwords. For example, I can go to this admin. I can change the password for admin. And you can do all those administrative operations. You can provide your name, email address. You can say this one is checked as a super user. If I uncheck this one, then this user will become a regular user. You can also create groups. So groups, you use that to manage roles and permissions and rights. So either you can choose to give someone specific permission directly, or you can create a group, maybe a group called managers, then you assign roles to that group managers, then assign a person to a group. So when you assign a person to a group, the person inherits all the permissions and rights that the group is having. So that's how you can control and manage the permissions and the rights, yeah, of a person using this particular site. So we are having an admin panel that's created for us, and that is handled through this route. Most of the time, you'll find that hackers, they know that most of the sites, if you go to /admin, you'll just find, and you find the site, then that site maybe are for administrative level, yeah. So they'll be trying to attack or maybe bypass or maybe try some passwords to check if they can log into the admin panel, yeah. So what they usually do most of the time, they go to a site. So for example, they are at google.com, yeah, google.com. then they do admin, like google.com/admin or whatever.com or whatever the domain name/admin. If they find a site over there, then they try now to find the password that maybe they can use to access that particular administration site. To avoid this in Django allows you to customize the URLs the way you want them to appear. So I don't want someone to access my site through this URL admin. I just go to URLs and I change this name admin something else. So I can change it to maybe MLSA. Yeah. So if I change it to MLSA and someone try to access this through admin, then you won't be able to access anything. But if you now go to MLSA, then now you are able to access that site. So you can actually change the route through which a particular site can be accessed. Am I still audible? Someone come. Can you guys still hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can
let's
still
see.
hear you. Yes, but
Okay.
your connection seems unstable. Sometimes you.
Your screen has frozen, sir.
We totally cannot hear you.
Yeah, we cannot
Sorry.
hear
So
you.
you can now hear me, right?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can
I
now
think
hear
we're
you,
good
but
now.
you are not sharing the screen no more.
Yes, we can hear
You
you.
can now see the screen as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now let's
All
proceed.
right, we're
So
good.
I said how you can now change the URL so that maybe it's now not easy for the hackers to maybe attack or maybe someone to target your site. Yeah. So you usually it's advisable you change that name from admin to something else because first thing the hackers they usually do is just to try. Yeah. They go to a domain they do /admin. Then if they find that there's something over there on maybe a login page or something like that, then they'll now be trying to this it's called brute force. Huh? I don't know how they call it. Something to do with brute forcing and to try to access um, that particular page. So to avoid that, the first measure maybe you can take is to change that URL from admin to something else that it is not easy for them to guess. So you give them hard time. The first hard task or time you are giving them is to find the URL to the admin panel. Then now the second hard task is you disallow people maybe from certain regions or from a given IP address range to access that particular admin. So you can actually disable the IP addresses that can have access to an admin panel. So those are security features you can embed, and maybe also add in the use of a strong password and something like that. So this is made easier by Django. So the site is now loading, but the CSS is not loading. So that's now what we're going to fix next. So we're going to add a static directory, or the static directory, or the path to the static directory. I like using that one, so I usually just use that to collect files. Then I just do base.path is static. So this one will tell Django where to find the static files. So we are going back to our HTML file. Oh, we had not moved it, so it would refuse to move to the static folder. Let me just move it manually through the file explorer. Yeah, so smooth. So let's proceed. So we are having the CSS and the static files for our site in the static folder or the static directory. So we go to our templates, and in the templates, I want you guys to notice something, that when you are in the index.html, so I'll open, since I've tampered with the structure for the one that we're using locally, I'll open the one that's running online, the one that was forked. So it's running at something like, I don't remember I think that's the URL. So this site, you are having the navigation bar, okay? Then you are having footer. So those are things that is common to both, whether you are in home page, you are in the project page, you're in the CV page, wherever page you are, those two things are common. Then you notice that this section, the section that is saying, I am John Smith, blah, 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 hire me. It's the same section that we are having here in the home page. So we can actually take this side, then we split this part. So we have another section for the header or the top nav, another section for the footer, another section for this one. I don't know how we call it. We can call it maybe a hero section, something like that. Then we split them, have them in separate files, such that we only call them when we need them. So we only call them when we need them. So that one will make, actually, that's what Django is trying to emphasize on. Yeah. So they usually it's called nothing to do with the dry. Yeah, don't repeat yourself. So you don't need to be repeating yourself, doing the same thing for homepage, the same thing for projects, the same thing for CV, same thing across the files. So just need to do it once and you are done. So we are going to change the structure. We are going to kind of modify the structure of this web page, and so to make work easier. So I'll create another folder inside the templates, and I'll call it maybe components. And in this component, you're going to have a file called maybe header or topnav.html. And we are going to have another file called footer.html. And we're going to have another file called hero section.html. And we're going to have a JavaScript.html and CSS.html. Yeah, so you're having this, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're having those files, 5 files. So we go to the index page and analyze this index page. So you're having this one for CSS. So we'll take all the files in the CSS, the ones for that contain the one for CSS, and place them in the CSS.html. Then we now move back to the same file, the index.html, and look for the JavaScript files. Yeah, we only have 2 JavaScript files below the footer. So I'll take that and put it to JavaScript. Before I do that, let me just do a comment. so that I remember where maybe where I had removed them. It will be easier to work with them when knowing where you've removed those files. So I'll just say CSS goes here. Then we'll place the JavaScript file in that js.html. Then we'll now we'll analyze the structure and see where we have the navbar. So here is the navbar. So take this part again. Then move that to the nav, the top nav, or the nav. Let me name this to nav to avoid confusion. Then we also, again, we are going to have this hero section, this part here saying I am so and so. And we are saying hero section. But here. Yeah. So with that hero section, we place them there. Now we are now restructuring the web page. We are making it look in a different way, or maybe we are trying to remove the repeating parts of the website. Then we are going to create a base that all other files will be narrating from. So this base will serve as the structure of the general structure of the entire website. And in this base, I'm going to take the content of index.html. So I'll take all the content of the index.html and I move them to base. So once I move them to base, I'll remove this. Oh, I'll not move the footer. So footer will also be in a separate file. So footer will go to the footer.html. Yeah, so we are good to go. So just to go back to base, and we're going to remove this section. We in base don't need this one. And in base, we don't need this one as well. Maybe I'll say we don't need this inner part. So this our object look like. So we'll be having the header. So I can give this, since we are working on our portfolio, so I can call it Jeff, maybe Jeff's portfolio, something like that. And this we will take this from a title or a variable that we'll be defining on the backend. So I'll give this one a title. So we'll be returning a variable called title, and that will take that place. Yeah. So that's we are good to go. So we just link this file. To link the file, just use the keyword include. Just say include our file we want to include. So we want to include CSS at the top. So it was in the components folder, just do components, then components plus CSS.html. Then here in the navbar, so just to go and do the same thing, include navbar.html. Then here for the hero section, okay, I'll remove this one such that we have hero section for everyone. So I'll let the hero section to appear in each and every page. So I'll return hero section immediately after the header navbar. So it'll return an hero section. So I want it to appear in every page. Oh, this was hero section, not navbar. This will be hero section. Then we'll be having our footer going over down here. Yeah, footer and JS will be down there. So that's okay. So this is how now the base will be looking like. So we are going to have a place for the content. So here in the content is where now we provide the inheriting file. So like if you are having the index and the index is extending base, now the content that are not in this base is what we now provide inside the content, the block content. Okay. So we come to our index page now. In the index page, we are going to remove all these things that are repeating. So they say the footer and all those stories. So you do away with them. We don't want any repeating section in our hero section. So we also do away with this one. Do you have main? There's no main. Oh, there's a main here. Okay. Then we just tell it to extend base. So it's just like inheriting in other programming languages. So when you tell it to extend something, it's taking the features from that base.html. And then now we're going to include that block content. And now all those content will be going to that block section. Now let's see how the file is still the same. Let's see if the structure still remains the same. So if I go to this, how it looks right now. So you're having the navigation bar, we're having the home project, then this hire me, then the footer at the bottom. So if I refresh it now, okay, the server seems to have stopped. Yeah, so you can still see the same thing. So you're having that navbar, the hire me, and all those other things. So when you want to load the CSS, you don't have to move from one file to another. Just go to the CSS, then ensure that all the CSS are loading, then go to JavaScript, ensure they are loading. Then the same thing will be inherited for all the pages that will be inheriting base. So you don't have to make the changes across all files. So just do load static, so we'll be loading the static files. Then we'll be changing a few things here. So to load in Django, we just use the static. This is like a tag. So we are having that static. Then we also close it here. So let's see if it's work. Now you see our site is now loading, except that the images are the one that are not loading. But for the CSS, everything is now working for home page. Okay, everything is now working for home page. You can see that. So let's load the JavaScript as well. So just move the JavaScript section, then up here just load JavaScript, load static. Then we do the same thing that we've done for the CSS. Yeah, so JavaScript is working. So you can see at the title, we are having Jeff's portfolio, then there's an hyphen, then there's a blank. So we'll just go to that one later. So we said it will be taking a variable called title and it will be passing it here such that it reads Jeff portfolio, homepage, Jeff portfolio project, Jeff portfolio. So based on whenever we'll be navigating to, this text here will be changing dynamically depending on which page you are at. So let's test it. So I'll provide some variable name for the home page and we are going to give it some context here. We're going to pass title to be home. So I want to pass title to be maybe home page. Let me change this to home page. Yeah. So if I refresh now, oh, there's this one that we don't need. Okay. So if I refresh now, we are having Jeff portfolio, then we are having that home page over there. I don't know if you guys have seen that. So this will be changing depending on which page you are visiting. Okay, so we have ensured that the home page is loading. We'll fix this one later. So let's ensure that all other pages are loading correctly. So I'll just go to CV. I'll make CV extend base. So I'll remove all this noise. Yeah, included in this one. So we're going to need all those. Remove all the footer, and the JavaScript. They are already included in that particular file. I'll remove that one as well. Then I'll tell this CV to extend base. Okay, extend base. Then I'll be giving it blog content. Then we'll close that down here. We do the same for hire me. So for hire me, we'll also remove this one and we tell it to extend base. And then you have blog content. Then navigate to the bottom, remove all the footer and the JavaScript as well. Now do the same for projects. Remove all those noise and then extend base. Then you're having that, then we close that down here. Yeah, so the correction is done for all the pages. Now, this is the interesting part of this session, right? Once you are having the navbar here, so whenever change you make to this navbar will be applied across all the pages. So for example, for someone to access home page, they just put a forward slash. This will imply that that will be the root directory. For project, we had not defined a URL. I'm going to check if we had. So I'm going to do a URL, then I put the name of the project or the name of the route that will be handling that particular request. So I'll call this one projects. Then for CV, I'll call it CV. Then for hire me, I'll call it hire. Call it hire. Yeah, so let me go to and confirm that the name must be similar to whatever you're having here. Oh, so this is index, CV, hire me, project. So it is hire me, not hire. So ensure that those names are the same. The way the same name you're using in the root is the same name that you're providing here. If they don't match, this is what is going to happen. If I refresh, we're told that this reverse match for this one is not found. So like there's no function that is handling this request. It's not this it maybe searched and did not find a function to handle, or maybe that is having this name. So to correct that, just give it the name that you are having in the root. So it is hire me. Hire me. Okay. So if you over this, you will be seeing this is for home page, this is for projects. You can go to projects. You can go to experience, you can go to hire me, and you can see that all these are now changing dynamically. So hire me, CV, yeah, projects, yeah, and homepage. So you are able to navigate from one file to another. You can do the same for the footer. So just to go to footer, then change the files that you want to modify. So maybe I can change about me to go to something like, since we don't have about page, so I'll redirect it to maybe CV. Then the contact me page, I'll take it to hire me. Then projects, I'll take it to projects. And then to add links, you can add links to your social media accounts. And the one maybe Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Yeah, so you can add those one. I don't have account for Facebook and Instagram. So I'll just skip that one. So if you over on the about page, you see it will open CV. The contact will open IME and the project will open that different one. Someone was waiting. Okay. So the first step is now done. So we are going to start with the index page and ensure that the images are loading. The images are loading. So just go to the index page. Yeah. The index page and load the 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 statics. Am I audible? Or I'll proceed? Or I'm breaking still? Can someone confirm? Okay, so let me just proceed then. So we want to ensure that what is not loading in the home page are these three images. Yeah. So we locate them and ensure that they are correctly specified. So just to find using VS Code, Control Shift L, and it will highlight all the instances of all the occurrences of that particular what you are searching for, and we are going to update the record for that one. So just do that, then we move towards the end. Then do that, and then that. So let me move this. Okay. Now, if I come back, the image will be loading now. Someone still waiting. Yeah, so the images are loading. So we are assuming these are the latest projects that maybe someone did, for example. Okay. And there's a lot of space in the arrow section. And there's another red line somewhere. Let me check what is happening. Oh, there's a red line here. So people don't need that. Don't need that. Or should just do that one that way. Yeah, so we want to remove the space, that's large space between the arrow section. So where is it coming from? No, there was an image over there that we are not seeing. Okay. Then let me also check for the IME page. There was something there's some spaces at the bottom. Something was yeah, I think it was this one. Let's see what was loading at the bottom that was not working. Oh, this image. Yeah, so everything is now okay now. We want now to have some model. So we want to do some little database. So we want to do a small database, then post data to it. And then I think that will be enough of today. So we can complete others as assignment. So what I'm going to work on is I don't know which one. I don't know if I should work on the projects or I should work on the CV. Let me work on the projects. Then you'll work on the CV. So for projects, if you look at this page and you navigate to the projects, in the project we're having an image. There's an image. There's a text. There's like a title. Then there's some description, right? And it's written there recent work. So we are going to do a database whereby we are going to store a link to an image, the title, and a description of that project that you worked on. Then we'll be returning that data from the database and rendering it as part of the HTML in the front end. So that's what we're going to do next. So just to go to your model. So I say when you are modeling a database, use this models.py. And now here in the models.py, you're going to use class. And you're going to call this class project. I already suggested it. So in the type project, we have a title, which is going to have a character field, a maximum length 100. There's a description. So for this description, we're going to take a text field. Text field. Yeah. So we're going to take a text field for description. Then we'll be having an image, which will be uploading these files. We are going to upload them to projects. And then we are going to have a URL. Our site does not have a URL, but we can provide a URL to that site so such that when someone hovers over the card, then if he clicks on the card, it will be redirected to the live project that you maybe did, or maybe a link to GitHub that is containing that particular project. So I think I'll leave that one for up to that point. Yeah. So then I'll go to the admins.py to register that particular app. First, we register it in the settings.py in the main project. So we have not done that. So in the mains project, just to go to the apps, installed apps, then we are going to add this core. Then we moved back to our admin.py. Then we're going to import the models that we have created. From the models, we want to import project, and we're going to register that project to the admin. So while registering, we have got things like list display. So when displaying this, we're just going to do a simple display like in an Excel sheet. So there's usually those rows. I'll explain them maybe if I open that project. I can also include the link to that page there. So we have title, description, image, and URL. So another thing you can have here is the search field. I think search field. So this one will specify which fields should Django search when maybe someone is searching for something, which fields should they look through here. And you can also have the filters. You can also add the number of lists you want per page. There's a lot of customization that you can do with this particular project. Yeah. So you can also make some list editable, but yeah, so I'll see how that works. So let me install Pillow. With Pillow, it's a package that's used for handling media file like the images. It's required since we are working with the media files. We have added that field for image. So we'll need that. So to do that, just do pip install Pillow. And it's being connected and installed and it's done. Yes, and we are going to make migrations and migrate the same way we did it the first time. Make migrations. Yeah, so and we are going to migrate now. We're going to run our server. Now, if the server is running and I go back to my admin panel, the admin panel, we had changed it to /MLSA, right? So if I go back to /MLSA, and now we are having this other project that has been registered. So there's this one whereby you are having a section for projects. So you can go there and you can add a project in the admin panel now. You give it a title. So maybe I can call this title MLSA workshop. And this thing will be added, the data will be stored in a database. And you give it some description. So for description, I don't have one. So I'll just take some data from this CV section. So I'll take this data and provide it. Then you can give it an image. Then you can also give it some URL, for example, that one. So the image, I want to give it some image. I didn't make it to trim the image, and I want it to look the same way as it is now. So I'll give it the same image that is in those files, but the link will be stored in the database, and you'll be seeing the image uploaded to the folder that we had specified. So let's go and select. So we'll go to that project. It was in this portfolio. Then the static, there was the assets folder. Then you have the images, and now we have what I don't know if it is this image here. So these are the projects. So I'll select that image too, and then I save and add another project. So on the second project, I can call it, and let's say some test project, and some description over there and another image. So I'll select that image 6 and I give a URL to maybe that one. Yeah, so and you save. Now you'll be having these two items, and you can see this. You can actually do multiple edits at the same time and update at the same time. That is because of this filter that we added here, the list editable. So this one will make a certain list to be editable, but since it is making our project look funny, and remove it, and now everything goes back to normal. So you can also search, you can delete, you can do all those operations you want to do. So we've added some test data, so we don't need this static data here in the home page. So we want to replace them with the actual data that we are having in the database. So this project, we're going to remove everything that is here and replace them with the actual data from the database. So I don't know if we're still together. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, you can hear.
So we're going
Yes, we are
to the okay, thank you. So we're going to the home page and we locate where we are having those projects, and here they are. So we are having many of them. So I'm going to minimize that and I'm going to delete them. So we only have one and we'll be looping through them. So if we've done loops before, you probably understand what we're doing. So we are going to check if there's a project. So to do that, just use the keyword if. So just do if projects. So if there's any project, then we'll through this. Else, if there's no project, then we say no project found and we close that. So if someone goes to the site right now, since I've not loaded the project to the home page, we will be getting that message, no project found. And I think you guys look at it. You can see it down here. So if someone tries to view your page and there's no project uploaded, they will be getting this text, no project found, instead of loading those static data. Yeah, so that's one thing. Let me make this text to appear at the center and make them maybe bigger so they can see recent work, no projects found. Yeah. So, and if there's projects, we are going to loop through those projects that are available and then display the result. So we are going to return the projects to the projects page. So go to the views, look for the one that is handling the projects, then just add that over there. So we're going to add the title, we're going to give it a title projects, and we're going to add the projects. So the projects will be projects.objects.all. Let me make it in a clear way. So I want to create a context, which will be like a dictionary context. Then in this dictionary, we're going to provide the first thing, which is the title, and another one returning the project, which will be project. And this project, we're importing it from the models. And from the model, you're going to import project and then do project.objects.all. So we'll be fetching all the objects of the project. Then we'll be assigning that to the project, this variable projects. Then we are going to return that to the projects.html, which is going to loop through them and decide the result. So let's see if that is happening. So let's go back to now it's reading no project found. If I refresh, meaning that's not loading. So which page are we in? Projects page. Okay. Let me refresh again. Yeah. Now you are seeing there are two projects that have been loaded. There are two projects that have been loaded. Now we want to replace these images and the text to be the actual data from the database. So to do that, it's very simple. Just to go to the index, the HTML that is returning those stuff. And here in the image, we're going to replace this with the image that is coming, the URL of the image that is stored in the database. So we're going to do the project. So project.image, then .url. So it will be fetching the URL of the image of the project. And if we refresh, we need to add it to the bug so that it will display. So we are having, and then another another thing is the title. So just do project dot title. And here in this href, we can provide that URL that we had placed over there. So this can be project dot. I don't know if it was URL or link. Project dot. I think it's URL. So, but we can confirm. So just move to the models.py and check we have what? Yeah, it is URL. So we have image, URL, description, and title. And then here we go, here goes the description of the project. So just do project description. And in this anchor tag, we can also do the project.url. And if we now refresh this page, now the data will be coming from the database. So we're having a MLSA workshop, a MLSA test project, and those descriptions that we added to the database coming down here. So if you want to update this data, you just log into your admin panel. Then just go to the project that you want to update. For example, let me enlarge it. So we want to change this MLSA test project to MLSA tests project, maybe project 3, right? So just go to MLSA test project, which is this one. Maybe we add the word 3. So if you add that and you save, and someone come to the home page, the data will be uploaded live on the site. So let's ensure that the images are loading. So to do that, we just add that to the things to the URL. So if just do if debug settings.debug, then we add that, then we also add them at the top right here. Okay, let's see. And now our images are now loading. Now this one or the one, this data are now coming from the database. Now they are not static the way they were before. So if we add the third project, maybe you have done another project. So just to go to the database and add the third project. Yeah, just go there and add maybe another project you did, maybe another, we call it another project. And you give it a description, what was that project about. I'll give it this time a different word so that we can be for sure that the data is coming from the database. And we select another image. So I'll select this one that appears like, I don't know if this is no word. Then the URL is optional, so we can skip it, but maybe I'll provide one. And then we save. So if we save, if we go back here, you should see 3 of them now appearing. So we'll see another project and it's now added to the site. So we've made our site now dynamic. Now it is fetching data from the database and it's now not using the static data. Up to that point, is there any question? Any question? No. Or am I disconnected? Oh. Any question up to that point? Can you guys
question.
maybe hear me? Yeah?
Yes, we can hear you. No question because you are a bit fast, but I know some people are catching up. I'll just have to go slowly after this with recordings. But no question, and we are getting you clearly.
Okay. So this hire me button, what we can do to it, since it is inherited and when you make one change, it will change everywhere. You can maybe just use mail to, then you provide your personal email over there. So I'll just go to that file, the area section, then we look for that hire me button, which is this one. Then I'll provide a link here. So I'll do mail to, then provide an email. So I'll provide my email. So when someone clicks on that hire me, it will open their email client and then they can start typing. So maybe I can change this to my name. And maybe you can use ChatGPT to provide other contents, maybe to provide to maybe add in this other section of the text. Yeah. So if someone clicks on hire me, it will open maybe a mail client. And then in the mail client, then the email will be pre-populated. So they just type whatever they want to type, and then they can now proceed. So that one is now done. Now, I want to give you guys a task, but since I still have 28 minutes, I can handle part of this CV. So maybe I can do the work experience, then I let you guys do the education part, the hobbies and skills. And then depending on at what time will be, where will we be at 10 p.m. So let's continue modeling our database. So we want to add a table. So we'll be having a table that will be holding data for work experience. So we're going to have another table for storing data for the work experience. And let's go and create that table. So to create a table, I said we just go to the models.py. So right now we are having one table called projects, and the project is having these columns. So there's the title column, the description image, and there's the URL. So let's add another table. So we're going to call this table and work experience. So let's call it work experience. And the work experience is going to have the title. This one can be the title, date, from, and the date completed. So you can also have date the title. You can leave the description since they are providing a description here. So let's analyze this thing. So we are having this the work experience. There's this title, so maybe you are a web developer or something. Then there's organization, so this one amazing.c, this one. So this like the organization where you are working at. Then there's this test, which is a description of what you are doing in that particular place. Then from when to when, right? So we are having this page. So there's the title, description, the company or the organization, then start date and end date. So that's what we are going to provide in our model right now. So let's go there and do that. So we are going to have a title, and then we're going to have the company or the institution company. Yeah. After company start date, then end date, then I think that will be enough. So we are done with that one. There's other things that we can add later, just to make things more complex for now. The one maybe you select if that is your current position you are still working at, whereby there's no end date, but there's a start date. So those are things that maybe you can modify in the future. So for now, let's just have this, make it simple. So you provide a title, a description of the job, where you are working at, when did you start working there, and when did you stop working there. So that one will be under this work experience. Now, another thing we want to do here is to register this to the admin so that you can update this data on the admin panel. So go to the admin panel, add that model work experience, then create another class for it here in the admin panel. So just be creating that one, and we'll be having a list display where we'll be displaying the title, description, company, start date, and end date. And there are these two things that I usually add to the models. You'll add them later. The created art, updated art, such that when an update is made to a given field, it's able to put some timestamp, yeah, as to when was that change made. Or you can add a created by or updated by. You can see who made the change or when was it made. So it can be used in the logs and auditing stuff. So we have registered our app. So we do the way we had done earlier. So we make the migration and make migrations. Keep on doing the same step, make migrations, then migrate. Then we run our server again. So when we go to our admin panel, this time round, we should be seeing 3 or 2. So we are having projects and we are having work experience. So you can actually add your work experience right here. So you can say the title, maybe I was a full stack developer, a software engineer. Then you provide a description. I worked there and provide this and this service. So you can just to come and take that description and provide it right here. So that's the work you are doing. Then where were you working? In which company? So I can say Tech Limited. When did you start working there? You can choose from this calendar. So maybe you started working there in 2020, maybe 2020 or 2019. So you can just move, yeah, and select, or you can say you started working there yesterday, tomorrow, today. You can select that actually. Yeah, so you can select that date and end date. Maybe I can say today, or I can provide a future date if I'm still working there. You can save and add another record. So that one is saved already. So I can add another work experience. So in the next work experience, maybe I can say that I was a software engineer. I think I had used that before. So I can say web developer, and the description is the same thing. And with the company name, maybe something else. For example, can use that. When did you start working there? I can select that date and I stop that date. And I can add the third company, and I can start, say I was working as a mobile app developer, then provide a description, then which company, I can say maybe Safaricom. Then started date, I started working there maybe in November, then ended date today. And now I save. So you will see all this work experience added here, but we'll remove them from this filter since we don't usually don't use the description field in the filter section. So to do that, just to go to your app, the admin, then in the filter, just move this word description. And we also remove it for this one. Yeah, so you can just have those. So that will remove, yeah. So we can filter by the company name, such that if you want to return result for the quarter only, you want to return result for Safaricom, Vestec Limited, mobile app, or something like that. So you can actually do all those queries over there. And you can have your result, or you can search. You can search maybe mobile app, mobile app. If you search, then you get that result. Yeah. So that's how actually the admin panel works. So we've added 3 work experiences, and we want to return them to this home page. So we want to return them and replace them with this dynamic content. Yeah. Back to the views. So first you render that content to the page where you want it to appear. So we're going to update this content on our CV. So go to the app that is handling request from CV, which is the function, this one for CV. Yeah, large it. That's too large. Yeah, so this function for CV, and we are going to create a context. And this context is going to have a title called CV, and we're going to have a work experience. We're going to say work experience. That's what is. So I'm just going to call it work, or maybe works, something like that. Then we close that. And ensure that after doing that, you return it to the HTML along this request. Yeah, so once we're having that done, let's go back to the template in the cv.html, and let's look for the section where we're having the work experience. Where we having, yeah, it's the work experience. So allow me to make it a bit smaller so that we can see everything and study the HTML. So we just don't put data. So we're having that as a work experience, as a work experience, and as a work experience. So I'll remove this two, then I'll loop through this one. Okay. So before looping, I'll just use a condition to test if there's work experience. If there's one, then I'll say, yeah, I'll return them. If there's none, I say no work experience. Found. Like that. If works, we call them works in there when we're returning them from the views. So if there's work, it's when we look through them. Okay. But if there's none, we don't look through them. So let's now open this and now see. Now we are going to change this with the title of the work. So to access this, actually in Django, it's very simple. In PHP, you will have to write those SQL queries. But in Django, if you want to access a child of a given table, so for example, there's the parent table and there's a child table, and they're linked through the primary key and the foreign key. If you want to access the element or maybe fields in a given table, just use the dot. So dot will just access the fields within a table, and you can also use that to access the children of a parent table. So for example, in this case, we are having work.title. This one will access the work table and the title field of that particular work table. Title like that. And this one for the company is just the title.company. Work.company, I mean. I hope you are now starting to get it. Then here we'll replace it with the start date. Work.start date. Then this one will be work.end date. Then we'll provide a description of whatever you are doing at the workplace down here. then you can do line breaks. Yeah, so if I refresh, now you see those data from the database are now rendered here. So we are having software engineer, Investec Limited from February 1st, 2026 to February 17, 2023, web developer JQuat, blah, 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 and the description are loading. So this data is now loaded live from the database. So when you update it in the database, it is also updated in the site. So for example, this text are too long. I decided to reduce them up to that level, and I change this to mobile developer 2 or developer 11 or something, maybe developer 2, and change the company to maybe Airtel. Yeah, and I save that change. If someone is viewing my site, you'll see that change applied. So we'll see the company change from Safaricom to Airtel. Let me enlarge. See the company change from Safaricom to Airtel, the title from mobile app developer to mobile app developer 2, and the description being short, all right? And actually you can trim whatever you want to appear. So if you don't want, you want to maybe maintain a given length, you don't want things to maybe appear too far or maybe too large. I don't know if the time is the one that's moving fast. Okay, I think we still have time. You can actually do that by truncating. Truncating is like restricting the number of the characters that you want to see. So you can, if you do a truncate, just write truncate. If you want to truncate words or character, you can specify that. Then you provide the number of characters that you want it to be truncated to. So maybe you truncate to 80. If you refresh now, you see this thing is now, it counts the number of characters. Once it gets to 80, then it truncates or maybe ignores the other parts of the word. So maybe you can adjust maybe this to maybe 150, and you will see that data truncated to 150 characters. So those are filters that you can apply to this one. Or you can also do uppercase. If you do slash uppercase, you convert the entire text to uppercase before displaying them. So those are filters that you can actually work with. But in this case, since we are not having a detailed page for work experience, it's advisable you will display everything such that then whoever is reading the site is able to read everything that you are saying about yourself. If we are having maybe a detailed page, maybe for example, somewhere written read more, then we could be doing that truncate stuff. But since we don't have read more, just leave it at that. So let me reduce these characters to some reasonable um, length so they don't be too long. And now our site is now using actual data, and you can see the title is, we are not providing any title to the index page or to the HTML, but the titles are being generated dynamically. So when you are in the home page saying Jeff Portfolio home page, and I go to project saying Jeff Portfolio projects, I go to CV to saying Jeff Portfolio CV, without me actually going there in the HTML to add a code it saying the title is this, title is that. So that is done automatically. So we've done that for the work experience. So I'll need you guys to do for me just one, or maybe I don't know how many people you are. We can make this a discussion. We are just 8 of us. Yeah, this is a good number. So we can make this a discussion. Maybe we talk about how you think people think we can model this education section. So what do you guys think? You can just unmute and maybe tell me which fields you think we can have in the education model. So maybe we can have this interactive session. We do this education together, then we close it, then I give you the rest as assignment. You can just unmute. So I'll enlarge it. So we're having a table called education, and it is having some fields. Which fields do you think we'll have in that table based on this data we're having right here?
Can we have, hi,
Yeah.
Raymond here. Now that we have high school on the education, we will need to add maybe a university or bachelor's, and then we add a few certifications on the education part.
Certification and something like education level.
Yes.
Okay, yes, we can have that. So let me just note that down. So I'll create a table, then that table is not going to have anything now. So I'll just call it education. then that education is showing that, then I'll pass this. So we'll not be having that board. Actually, that one has given some months. This copilot very it should not be doing that one. So you've suggested we'll be having an education level. Education level. And another one. Another suggestion, we are 8 of us. Actually, this is a very nice number. I can call anyone. I can call everyone from the top. So I'm having Gloria. Gloria, what do you think we can have?
Okay, could you hear me?
Yes, yes.
What about you say you can have school, description, the date, the starting date, and the ending date,
Description, start date, end date, and
and the school. School
the name
that
of
you,
the school.
yes, itasimamia hiyo kina Albert, Stephen.
Yeah, okay. So we are having the name of the school. You said start date and end date and description. Okay.
Description.
Yeah. Okay. Let me call another person. Today I'm going to call everyone. It's nice when we are few. Joshua and Njoroge. Or you are the one who gave us the first one. Yes, Moses. Which fields can we have in a table? A table. We are having a table for education, storing data for an education kind of system. Which fields can we have?
Okay, for me, I think those are the ones that have been mentioned by, is it Gloria?
Yeah.
For me, I'll go with those.
If you were to add one or two,
No idea.
okay. The next person is it Capiegon or I really don't know how to read that one. Capiegon, right? Maybe you'll tell me how to pronounce that. What do you suggest we have in that table?
Maybe the grade included.
Grade. Okay, so the grade scored in that particular. Okay. See, I think you can have grade. Okay, so we also have grade. Okay, another person. The next person we're having Moses. I'm back to Moses.
I actually had the idea of achievement, which is
Yeah.
I had the idea of achievement, but it seems similar to grade.
Yeah, grade. Okay. Okay, so it's like achievements, last grade, okay. Okay, so, and Raymond, what do you suggest we have?
Okay, I already talked to that. We can. Okay, my idea, I think I exhausted them. The part of level of education where you have to include because there's that where the high school, the degree, masters, then there's part for only certifications because they'll have to be on the same table on the CV.
So we include the certificate. So maybe the person should provide the certificates.
Like you have to put their provision for certifications rather.
Okay. That's good. So with this data that is provided here, we're going to create a table that is going to store this information. So since this is your site, it's like your portfolio. You are the only user in this system. You know, it's not a like multi-user kind of system. It's just a one-user system. So it is your own personal portfolio whereby you are creating your own, adding your own education, maybe education, the background, the experience, and all that. If it could have been maybe a multi-user kind of situation, then maybe we could have said maybe you can add the student or maybe the user that link a given experience to a given user, you link something to something else. But since it is just a one user system, will just be you doing it without linking it to other users or the logged in users, right? So let's now go in and create a table that is having all those things that we've said. Then we display them here on the web page. And then I hope by the end of this class, maybe by the time we will be submitting the assignment, everyone will be having, each and everyone will be having their own personal portfolio that is fully functional with all the backends and the processing and everything. So let me first rename this title, this one to j.o. That's a brief one. So let me quickly change that. So I just go to the navbar. You see how we're working with a system that is kind of well structured or something like that. It's easier to control and maybe make changes rather than maybe me. Right now, I could be moving across the all four files, changing the same thing over and over again. But since we've modeled it in a nice, an easier way, we could just change one place and the change is applied across. So let's now go and create the table. So I'm going to take these fields and I'm going to use them to create that table. So now I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the title or the name of the school. Title will act like the name of the school. And now we want to have the description. So the one that I'm done with, I'll be removing them. So the name of the school and description, done with that. Actually, if you guys think of it this way, right? If it was a system like maybe LinkedIn, right? If you are going to provide the name of the school, then we could have added another table that will be storing school such that when a user is going to provide a name, then he is given a list of schools, lots of schools then to select from. But since the system is just a one user, there's no need to maybe have a table for storing schools, another table for storing grades, another table for storing maybe the achievements, another table for storing companies. That will be a lot of work. So you just have maybe a school, then it's a character field where we just say he was at JQuat, I was at KU, I was at whichever school, then you just enter instead of now starting to model it in a complex way. And the complex way is favorable when the system is now, it makes sense when the system is large or maybe the system is now huge and then there are many users from multiple backgrounds that are using that same system. But if it is you that you are the only person using the system, then there's no need of doing all that. So we're going to add that the level. So I'll call it educational level. So that will be that. And actually, you can also provide a choice. So you can have a choice to select from. So you can say education levels. Provide a choice like primary, secondary, tertiary, masters, and PhD. And you close that. Then provide that over here. So we like to provide a choice. It will be doing like a choice kind of field that will be selected from. We'll be selecting the choices from these predefined options. So that you can also do that in Django. So we'll be having our start date and we'll be having the end date. So, and you can see something interesting that in this second model, the end date can be blank and null. So when it is blank and null, it was also true for the first one. If it is blank and null, meaning it is optional. So you can also check. You can allow users not to provide the end date, such that if that is their current school whereby they are still learning at, then they leave that option blank. So if it is left blank, then the system will regard that as the current institution where the person is either working at or maybe learning at. Yeah, so we've done away with the education level and the achievement. So the grade can be added in the description, so you don't need to provide it as a field. So someone can describe it. We can say, I learned at this school, whereby I obtained the following skills and I obtained this grade and all that. So you can give that narration in the description. Yeah, in the description part. Since the description is a text field, you can write all the stories that or anything that you want. Maybe the grades you scored, the skills you obtained, all those things they can all fall in the description, so you don't really have to add them as an extra field. So that's the model we are having for our education. So we just come and register them to the admin.py. Then we do admin register education, then we do that and provide the list. So listing the title, description, education level, start date, and end date. There was another thing, let me check. Yeah, so there are only those ones. And now you can, in the field, now it makes sense to filter by education level, such that you can return results for the primary, results for the tertiary, results for the PhD, and all those. Yeah, so for the filter, it makes sense if you filter with education level. Yeah. So let's make migrations again. I believe I'm still online. If I'm breaking, maybe you can just inform me. So we made the migrations, and if we go to our admin panel now and refresh, now we are having education, projects, and work experience. So in the education, you can create an education. So when creating, you are having the title. So maybe the title, maybe you can say the name of the school. So, but that name title does not make sense. So we can call it name of the school. Yeah. So to do that, you just come to the model. So you can rename it, but for now I can just leave it like that. So I say the school maybe can be that, and provide the description. So the description can include what you are learning there, the skills you obtained there, what grade did you obtain. Maybe you can also add the link to the certificate in the description as well. So all that can be done in the description. Then now you see now the level of education. Now instead of it being that text area field, now you are selecting from a list. I believe you can see that. Now you are selecting is it primary, secondary, master's, PhD, bachelor's, all that. So you can actually define a choice field in Django such that whoever will be filling in that field, it will be provided with the drop-down list to select from. So you can select maybe masters, when did you start that masters, but the end date is optional. So if you don't provide it, it means that we are still currently studying at that place. So you see, I can save this without providing the end date and it's still okay. But if you look at this side, you just see it an hyphen, implying that this one is a blank. It's not, there's no value that has been provided to it. Now I want us to use this information to make this thing more interesting. So if you look at this place, we're having the start date, which is this, and the end date, which is this one. Now, if there's no end date, we want to make this one to read present. So maybe it reads from this date, maybe given year to present. So meaning from that particular period up to now, you're still learning in that school. So if you don't provide the date, then this will read present. So that's what we want to do. So you are going to involve some if and else condition to do that. I see the time is running, so I'll just do that one thing. Then you guys will, in your group, so the individual work, this one was individual work. So this one will just be working on it at a personal level, but as a group, there will be another work to do. Okay, so let me go back. So we go to the HTML, whereby we are having our CV, and there's the education. So there's the education. So we are adding this item. The first one, which is the high school, applied physics, if they are on. So we are only having two. So we are going to style this one. So we are saying if this education, if education, we can say educations, maybe that's not a good English. I'm just doing since we are going to use it in the loop. So I wanted to put something like education, maybe something in education. Yeah, I can change that name to something else. So here in the loop, we'll be looping through something else. So maybe for edu in education, something like that. Yeah, so and indentation, I'm usually keen on indentation. So even if the indentation is not a consideration for a given language, but I'm usually keen on that one. I do like if something it's written nicely. So you're having that, then the name of the school. Oh, this was the level of the school. So just do edu dot education level, education underscore level. Then we can do this Albert School to be the name of the school now. Then start date. So the start date was mandatory for everyone to fill. So we are going to just do edu dot start underscore date. But for the end date, we are going to check if the person has provided the end date. We provide that. If there's no end date, then we say it is present. It's like the person is still studying in that particular place. So we're going to write an if statement here. If edu dot end date underscore date. So meaning if there's an end date, then you provide that end date. So we'll provide the end date. So else, if there's no end date, so write else, we're going to write there present. Present. Yeah. And we end our if and if. Yeah, so let's see what happens up to that point. Okay, so it was from this one. Sorry. So the field for education here is blank since there is no, we have not returned education to the home page. So let me catch that. Let's say else. Else. It's read the no education found. Yeah, so it should read something like no education found. So let's return it to the home page. So just to go to the views, then in the CV, we add education. And that will be for education, and we import that education here. So if we refresh again and refresh, we will not add education. We're having one. Okay. Oh, this is returning education instead of education. So we are having one. So it's reading. I want you guys to have a look that this guy was doing masters at Quad from this date, but now since there's no provided data for the end date, here you can check the end date is blank. Now here in the front end, it's reading it's from February 1st, 2023 to present. So you can actually check if the date is provided, you return that date. So meaning that person has completed the education up to that time. But if it is blank, then you write maybe to present. So let me add another education so that we can test. So I'll say another school, maybe something like that. Some description, education level. Maybe I started that one maybe on this date, and now this one is having an end date, right? I calculated that one today, for example. So this one is having an end date, this one is not having an end date. So this one means the person is still at this school. So let's refresh and see what is happening. Now, have a look. For this one, which was having an end date, we are now having the start date and the end date. And the one that was not having an end date, we are having the start date, but for the end date, we are having it's reading present. Okay. Let's replace this the description with the actual data, then we can call it a day. I can see the time is much gone. So replace this lorem ipsum with the description. Yeah, so everything is now okay. So our site in the education part and the work experience is loading from the database. The projects are also loading from the database. So the only thing that is remaining that I need you guys to take note. I hope you can hear me so that maybe kusikue mtu hajasikia. You can all hear me, right? Confirmation.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
So the task that you guys will be doing, you can just follow along the video. I think it was being live streamed on YouTube. So after this, you just go to the YouTube. You will find it. So I need you guys to create a table for skills. And this table, this one will just go and do some. It's just creativity, drawing this level. So the table for skills will be having some fields. The fields that will be having the name of the skills and the level of the skills. And based on the name and the level of the skills, it will write for me this name, if it is HTML, and draw this line. This line should not be drawn manually like in the HTML. It should be fetching some value from the database that is specified, maybe a level flani. Then it draws a line and gives maybe a percentage at the end, at this far end, based on the data you've provided on the database. So the more skills you add, the more of them, the more they appear here with their levels. So I need you guys to have that table and maybe add another table whereby you'll be having your hobbies. And these hobbies, will, instead of having them appear like this separated with the commas, you'll be listing them going downwards. So they'll be like a list. So that's the assignment. So you'll be working on the skills and hobbies. Then on the higher me, you'll do a little research on how to work with the forms and post data to the database without using the admin. Since the users will not be logging into your admin to leave maybe a feedback or a review or to hire you, they will be using this form, right? And this form is not in the admin panel. So you'll also be creating another table for this form. Then you'll do a little research. There's a book that I had uploaded here. This one, Django by example. So after doing a little research, you'll do enable user to submit data through this form, and the data should be able to be uploaded to your admin. Yeah. So if a user, if, for example, I come to your site maybe and I select this option, I provide some data like that. If I submit, if I hit on this button, that data should be sent to your admin panel and it should be there in your admin panel. So that's the assignment for today. So they will be working on the hire me page, and on the lower section, we'll be working on the skills and hobbies. Remember that the skills, the level has to be fetched from the database. So the levels will be varying depending on how you are creating them. So maybe you are saying HTML, my skill at HTML maybe 97, or maybe my skill at HTML is expert, maybe intermediate, and beginner. So depending on how you're going to structure it, whether it's going to use an integer value. So maybe you are giving them a value maybe 50, 70 to draw the line, or you're using the choice field such that you are choosing maybe making it maybe be intermediate, expert, beginner. But what I just want to see is that you are having the name of the skill at this level. And at the end, at this far end, we should be having a percentage. It should be indicating a percentage of what percentage skill you have on that particular language or that particular tool or framework. This contact information, you can just change them manual. And that one, you don't have to add them to the database. So that one, you can change them manually. You can put your own contact information over there. So this will be your own personal portfolio. Will be your own personal portfolio. Hobbies will come from the database, skill from the database, hire me. So we'll be fetching data from the user that is hiring you, and that data should be sent to your database and you'll be able to find it in your database. I hope that is clear. Anything I should clear on? I should clarify on? Let me post this. I hope you guys understood what I was talking about. So I post the code to GitHub. So maybe you can clone it, then complete the rest of the part. Or maybe if you're following along, you just complete the one that's remaining. So thank you guys. Unless someone is having a question that I need to address before I end the meeting. Any question?
Yes. There's a question.
Yeah.
Oh, so that work is individual.
Yeah, that is individual work.
Is there
So for the
any?
group work is also simple.
Yes.
The group work, the initial work that you were having in the last time was to create a contact form, right?
Yes.
That was the work that you were doing before. So this time in the group, you're now going to ensure that that contact form can be used. Like someone can submit data through it, and it gets and it send an email. Like let's say there's the group owner, right? And the group owner is having an email, correct?
Yes.
So if I come to your site and I use the contact form, I put in my name, my subject, my email address. Once I hit on submit, the data that I'm providing on that form should be sent to you as the admin or as the owner of that site. It should be sent to your email. So that's just the task that the group will be working on.
Okay.
We are just expanding on what we did the last time on the last session.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is my first time joining on the session. So how could I participate on this one? Do I have to go back and like watching and complete so that I can participate or join on this one? Or what other option I have to do?
The way I modeled this session was very it catered for everyone. For instance, I made it in a way that after every session, those who participated in that particular session gets the certificates. So, for example, you joined the today's sessions, right? So if you complete all the assignments that were given today, when I'll be processing the certificates for this particular day, then you'll be able to get a certificate for that for attending this session and participating on this session. So meaning if you missed the last week session, you can just follow up, yes. But if I'll be processing certificate, I'll only be issuing the one for this session. And all our materials are also uploaded on our site. So there's a web page that we are having, MLSA hands-on experience. So if you Google, it should be appearing, MLSA hands-on experience, or you can just visit VSTEC/COK/ your hands-on experience MLSA, then you'll be able to get that page. In that page, you'll be able to get the recordings for the past events. So and the documents that were used in those past events. So you can actually use that to catch up.
Okay, thank you. I hope you will share it on a group, that link.
Yeah, the link is on the group.
Okay, thank you.
Another question? Okay, thank you guys for joining. It was a nice session. I know there's a lot that you maybe still have to digest since I was moving fast, and this language is usually it usually has some site maybe I can say section that maybe need someone to do individual research or something like that. So you can actually be replaying the video to learn more. Maybe if there's areas that I was not clear on, you can check on the documents. You can, there's also the documentation. So thank you for joining and see you in the next session. So next session we'll be deploying this site that we worked on. So by that time when we'll be deploying it, so it means it should be done and all the features should be working so that we just deploy it and we go live. So the site that you worked on be live. So you'll be having a live portfolio that is running on a server and people can actually access and it can handle requests from people. So you guys can have a nice time depending good night or nice day or good morning depending on the location where you are. So have a good time.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.